Welcome back, everybody, to Two Guys and a Stack of Comics. We are coming to you live from San Antonio Dragon's Lair. It's Tuesday night. Right behind me are all the Marvel comics that you can't buy yet because they're not released. We got a chance to look at them, and they look pretty good. This is the second
our four-part trip through ranking the MCU movies. So we are
1 through 32.
1 through 32. We already covered 32 through 25. Today we're going to get 24 through 17.
So we're going to see if we can get through these.
With these, it's all based on just our pure enjoyment of the movie. No box office, no critical reviews, nothing like that. And really, we just use the method of if you were at home watching TV and two of these movies came out at the same time, which one would you watch?
And we really kind of went through that list, especially when we got stuck. Like, oh my gosh, I like that one too. Like, try it at home. You have the remote in your hand. You can see the schedule. They're both starting at the same time. Which one do you choose?
Which one would you watch?
Try it at home. Let us know in the comments below.
1 through 32 and just sort of ended up where we did. Little minor disagreements at times, but we were able to kind of iron it all out and get on the same page with everything. So 25 through 17 is where you actually start to get to some pretty good movies that are actually genuinely enjoyable.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
25, we start with Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Movie that had a lot of hard circumstances around it. Obviously, you had tragic death of Chadwick Boseman. You got to make a movie without the main character.
I'm sure there were times when they said, should we even make this movie? But Black Panther, one of the best movies in the MCU, made a lot of money. One of the best characters.
Yep.
They decided to go forward with it, and I think it started out strong in places, especially the beginning with the tribute. Oh my God, it was amazing.
No, there were some really poignant moments in the movie that I think really hammered home what they needed to. Good acting performances throughout. Ultimately, this one fell apart for us with Namor, the Submariner. Just not a good representation of the character.
No.
He's an anti-hero. He can be a bit extreme, but in this movie, he's a straight-up villain.
There were times in this movie when I was like, can he just not be in this movie?
Yeah. No, and you can just tell there wasn't a lot of love for him as a character. It was how can we fit him where we need him to be? And with a character who's as classic as Namor, he just deserves a little better than that.
He really did.
I think it hurts his future as well because his connections to stuff like the Fantastic Four. It's really hard to envision them ever kind of befriending or working with Namor,
bringing him back.
Some of the bad things that he did. It's not on the actor; it's just on the script, and then kind of forcing him in. I think maybe they didn't need to.
It just really felt forced to put Namor in there and the way they developed that character.
So that's what we had at 24. 23, we had Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Another movie I think just, again, kind of have a lot of Phase 4 movies on here. There's some great moments in this movie, but ultimately where it broke for me was the character of Gamora in the movie.
Yeah.
There was so much investment in Gamora in the first two movies and her relationships with Peter and the rest of the crew.
They just couldn't let it go.
Yeah, they have to do the multiverse trick. And you knew it was coming because the multiverse one showed up in Endgame. But it just ruins the dynamic a little bit. There is some great moments in the movie. There's some great stuff with Rocket. And
the soundtrack was awesome.
Soundtrack is
always a
kicking.
Winner in the Guardians movies.
And it is competently written. I'll always give James Gunn that. I think given the hard hand that he was dealt with what they did to Gamora and kind of these relationships in Infinity War and Endgame, he kind of had no choice, but it might have been a better one for her to just kind of sit out the movie. Also, Adam Warlock was in the movie. He's a character I've really grown fond of lately. I didn't have a childhood attachment to him.
Yeah.
He's a fantastic character in the comics. In the movie, he just feels very off. And again, one of those characters where it felt like just how do we force this character into the role we need him to be in instead of actually representing him. And so it takes a little bit of hits from that, but still has some very enjoyable stuff in it.
Yeah, and like we said, like this part of the list, there were some good movies.
You start getting some good ones,
we would watch again. Absolutely. Would I watch Wakanda Forever again? I'm sure I would.
Yep.
Guardians of the Galaxy 3? Yeah, sure I would. Sure. Okay, we're on to
22. Doctor Strange with that one.
Doctor Strange. Here's a movie that and a character that you totally love.
Yeah.
And I was excited for the movie when it came out.
And there's some great visuals in this movie. There's some really cool ways they use his powers. I think this was really Marvel at kind of their peak. They're in the middle of between the start and Endgame, where they could really they had it rolling. And there's some great character moments. I think his arc overall, going from kind of this arrogant jerk to very humbled, sort of,
I think
sorcerer.
they portrayed that pretty well.
Very comics accurate as well. They did a great job with it. I've had some really cool costume stuff, some really inventive use of his powers. Just a lot of good things with it. Ultimately, where this one falls a little bit flat is the villain. In the film is very unmemorable. There's the Dormammu scene at the end, which is cool.
Yeah.
But the actual villain that's in there, Caecilius, is just very forgettable, to where you almost have to look up what the name of the villain was in the movie. But it was a strong intro for Doctor Strange. Again, a good movie, just not quite to the level of some of these other
It didn't
ones.
get to the top 2 tiers
Yep.
because of the quality of those other movies,
Yeah.
And so, that's kind of the realm we're in. We're in the middle ground.
Of a couple good things, but maybe just not quite as enjoyable. And I think both of me and Mike, some of these rankings are a lot influenced by us being comic book fans, and just sometimes like a character like Doctor Strange, I like Doctor Strange, but it's not a character I grew up reading or just really invested in that story, and I think sometimes that hurts the enjoyment as well. 21, we had Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Volume 2, another good movie.
Another really solid movie. Again, great soundtrack, competently written. Some really great scenes in this movie. I think this is my wife's personal favorite Marvel movie because of Baby Groot in the movie. She absolutely loves that character.
Yeah.
And there's some good scenes in this. I just think, again, it was just a bit unmemorable. I think that's the thing, is I remember having a good time with this movie, but I don't remember any one specific great scene that happened. It was a good film that had its moments, but it never delivered something great.
Was it Guardians of the Galaxy 2 where is this the one where they had the Nova Corps in it?
No, that's one.
Oh, that was
this
one.
was Ego.
This was
Peter meeting
and
his
they broke out of the
father.
prison, right?
Yeah, and so it's this movie, again, some good moments. I think the Guardians films are well cast, and all of the actors have good chemistry with each other, which is fun. There's a very, Yondu dying at the end of the movie was really heartfelt and well executed, but I just think overall, not quite to the level of some of these other films, even though it is very enjoyable.
It tugged at your heartstrings.
I think maybe the best soundtrack of any of the Guardians movies was from the second one. Is that a movie that you're kind of tapping your foot the whole time? Although one has
I like
an
the
absolutely
first one
fantastic
soundtrack the best. But yeah, now we're moving up to what?
20, we got Thor: The Dark World.
Oh yeah, Thor.
Decent movie, but it kind of falls under its own weight of the elves in the movie, like Malekith. It just doesn't really hold up that well. There's some cool action scenes, and I think this is a great movie for Thor and Loki, but the presence of Loki in the movie really removes the threat of the main villain, because you can tell the movie's more of a Thor and Loki story as opposed to a conflict between him and the Dark Elves.
Yeah.
Still well written.
And it's it begs the question, with Loki as the prime villain, you could have him as the main villain for 2 movies.
Yeah.
I mean, there were...
It just seemed like there was the Dark Elves part actually seemed forced into a movie when they were the main villain. And it was like, you maybe didn't need that. Still good because of the performance of Hemsworth and all the other actors.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't quite live up to the other ones we had. And as Mike, a big Thor fan.
I love Thor.
His favorite Marvel character. We're both more DC guys, but he's definitely a huge Thor fan. 19, Ant-Man. Pretty good origin movie. Very fun. A lot of cool use of his powers and good performances with it.
I love this movie, and I would definitely watch it again if it came on. And I would probably choose it over Dark World. Again, we had to play this kind of game and try it at home and see if it works. Movie A versus movie B.
Yeah.
This is one where I was like, I'd probably like to watch that first Ant-Man movie again.
No, it's a fun movie, good humor, really works pretty well, and good casting with that. 18, we had The Incredible Hulk. This is kind of the forgotten Marvel movie because the Hulk actor changed after this one.
Yeah.
But for an early entry
Ed Norton.
in Marvel, Ed Norton is actually, I think, the best Bruce Banner in my opinion.
And that scene where he's like, okay, you're going to put me in a metal tube underground in one of the most populated cities in the world, that stuck with me.
It had some really good moments. I love that they got a Lou Ferrigno cameo in the movie as well, honoring him from the Hulk TV show. The CGI is a little rough at times in this one, but it's very early in the MCU, and you could tell this was where they were still kind of formulating the plan. But I think a very good Hulk movie, and for an individual story about Bruce Banner, I thought they did a really good job.
Yeah, and Ed Norton, you can't go wrong, and it was decent writing. It was
just not quite to the level of some of the other films,
which we're gonna get into. Yeah.
So and the last one we'll cover, Guardians of the Galaxy 1. We have that one at 17.
Yeah.
This one I could debate could be higher. This was one we kind of really had trouble slotting. Ultimately with it, I think the breaking point for both of us is just the attachment to the characters is not quite the same as characters like Iron Man or Thor or Spider-Man.
Yeah, from a personal standpoint, it's like I was not aware of Guardians of the Galaxy, I don't think, until they started making the movies about them. So there's a lot of cool characters there. And so, being a comic book fan and having the
that attachment that
the heroes that you love and enjoy. So it did rank a little bit down towards the middle for both of us. But just for that reason. But other than that,
it's a great movie.
It's fun to watch.
And I will give them a ton of credit for making me care about characters that I just didn't have much of attachment to.
Right.
Chris Pratt is awesome in the movie. I mean, he was so cool to see as Star-Lord, that opening scene. With him dancing in the cave and stuff like that. It brought a unique tone to it and really kind of established them and introduced the cosmic corner to the MCU, which was really cool. It is a good movie. Again, when you get to this list, this is the point where we were like, man, these are all great movies.
Yeah.
We had to really get into where does this rank compared to the other great movies.
Right.
So
it's got a lot of stiff competition.
Yep.
I mean, when we get further up on the list, so be sure to tune in for the next two videos as we get closer to number one, and see how you rank these.
Your own.
Yeah,
you may
compared
disagree.
to us.
If you do, let us know in the comments below. But that is a wrap on part 2. We will have the top 16 films on our next couple of videos.
And also remember, we're not talking about box office.
Nope, no critical analysis. Just
no critics.
Pure enjoyment.
Just
of the
how
film.
you feel about them as a comic book fan, and you can't go wrong when you use the what's on TV.
What's on TV? Method.
Am I gonna
watch?
Am I gonna watch Ant-Man or Guardians 1? What am I gonna watch?
Yep.
It works like a charm.
Thanks for spending some time with us. Like, share, and subscribe, and comment below if you have any of your own rankings. But thank you. This was Two Guys in a Stack of Comics. We will see you next time.